I'm a fan of your work, both music videos and your filmography, but there's going to be many people out there who've never seen anything you've done. So besides this film, if someone has never seen anything you've done, what's the first thing you'd like them watching and why?
Wow. I've never thought in those terms in my entire life. That's an interesting question. I've never watched anything I've done since I'm done with it anyways. I hardly even know what it is, what all those things may or may not be. So you're asking me things that I guess the answer should contain what would represent me or what would be a good representation of what I've done and so on and so forth. I wouldn't know. What I do know is that, some things have been more popular than others. I know that Chernobyl was quite popular and people seem to have liked that on a general level. So I would guess I'd recommend that then, because it seems like that's, it's almost like a foolproof piece of something that people can watch and take something enjoyable away from it.
You got to direct and work with David Bowie on 2 music videos towards the end of his life. What was that collaboration like, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, yeah. No, that was formative for me. It was really an incredible experience to have done, just to have met and worked with this gentleman in the way we did. We did the 2 last videos, and the very last one of those 2 was released a day before he passed away. Many people have looked upon those videos and can consider them as a sort of deliberate epitaph or something like that, but it wasn't really. Those videos were made in good faith. They dealt with the fact that I was informed by him that he was ill and that he was very ill and that he might not make it. So that kind of became a part of my creative process in dealing with these videos. David was not involved at all in the videos himself because he was busy with treatment and all those other things. So it was kind of my interpretations on the journeys he was going through, but they were never intended as some kind of, an epitaph of his life and career or anything like that. We were just having fun making music videos.
Jumping into why I get to talk to you, what was it about this material that said, I need to make this?
First off, it was because it was not like nothing I've never done before. I've never done anything in space, zero gravity. I've never, ever had to deal with one character that would be, computer generated, and the ramifications of that. So, on one level, it was just like tantalizing based on the technical aspects of it, But primarily also the story itself, in Jaroslav Kalfar's book and the ensuing versions of the scripts that we've been dealing with, it's a story that I relate to a lot, in terms of being a person who have a lot of love and passion for what I do. It's almost like a calling, I have to say, and it's always been since I was a child. And I tend to go a little too deep into that, and without regarding the ramifications and the cost that has on other aspects of life. I mean, I think John Lennon was the one who said, life is what happens when you're busy doing other things, right? Yeah. So it had to do with that, and I find that very sort of compelling and something. It's almost like an atonement. I have a bunch of crashed marriages and relationships behind me, so it's a film about a past version of myself. I've come clean. I've woken up. I'm a better human now. So
I'm fascinated by the editing process because it's where it all comes together. With every director I talk to, I always bring this up. How did the film change in the editing room in ways you didn't expect going in?
I mean, you're spot on with that. Editing is such a magical part of filmmaking, and you do so many things that you never had intended on the onset in terms of everything from how you can manipulate a scene to become something very different than it was on the page, to literally work on the story arc by swapping places of scenes, by omitting stuff, and in our case also we had the opportunity of that one of our characters could perpetually be rewritten. Our Hanus, our creature, because of the fact that he was CGI, we could keep on changing his character, and that obviously had affected other aspects of the film. So it in this particular case, massive changes throughout the editing process, both in terms of the relationships between Jakub and Hanus, but also in the film itself. It had different kind of trajectories on the page. This was the first time I've ever done something in which we had to reconsider some aspects of what was on the page when we shot it and what I wanted it to be afterwards, and that it became, a lot of work in the editing and some reshuffling of things in order to get it to where I wanted to.
Who do you trust for honest feedback? And did they give you a note that you were like, oh my God, this is good. I'm going to have to incorporate this?
You got a lot of good questions, man. Who do I trust for feedback? Well, number one is my producing partner, Michael Parrots, and I really believe in the beauty of filmmaking, of this, the troika of director, producer, and writer, that we all have sort of some version of a common goal, but we also come from different places with slightly different trajectories. And then, in that, where those three circles meet is sort of the perfect sort of the spots of where everything happens. But Michael, I really trust in his feedback. He's like me, we come from books and literature. We like, characters and story arcs from that rather than sort of leaning into the vernacular of film, actually. So I really trust him. And he, there were, a lot of small notes or notes in general throughout the process that was very meaningful to me from Michael. And again, that's why we have these partnerships in filmmaking, so very much like so. But then, you have studio notes also, and to some extent, and that's something, that can be an unpleasant experience, which I've had before in my life. But in this particular one, Netflix, on one hand, really believed in what the movie was intended to be and so on and so forth. And they actually, the executives we worked with throughout the process, their feedback and their notes were never in any way preposterous in any shape or form. So that was also, was a meaningful process.
I'm just about out of time, so I want to actually ask you, I read, could be wrong, that you're one of the executive producers on Dune: The Prophecy. Is that true or not true?
Is that the TV series?
Yeah.
I had an involvement in the TV series about a year ago, and which ended up in, me, creative differences or something like that. But I believe I'm still some version of an executive producer on it. But I'm very much looking forward to it, and I'm excited to see what it's going to be. Yeah.
I've heard it's going to turn out good. My last thing for you, I read you're doing Day of the Triffids.
No, that one has gone away, actually. The next thing I'm doing is we're making a movie about the last 6 months of Saddam Hussein's life before his execution and the relationship he had with the 12 American soldiers who were guarding him. So it's this kind of weird reversed Stockholm syndrome between this sort of manipulative and charismatic, tyrant, so to speak, and the sort of susceptible 12 young man who sort of gets a little too close for comfort in the relationship with him. And it's a very, very interesting project with Barry Keoghan is attached to play the lead. Not Saddam, that is, but the other lead.
Completely. I read about that as well. Do you think you're filming that this year?
Oh, yes, this fall, yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. I really hope this is a huge hit for you.
Thank you. Great questions, man.